You see it all the time. ICE is violating the constitutional rights of American citizens and people within the United States in violation of things like due process, of, basically, grabbing people without warrants, which is a violation, or holding people in prison without giving them access to their attorneys, putting them in prison and denying them medical attention, all of this stuff. This is what's going on. Now, people are saying, well, what can I do? What can I do? Okay, so the problem has been this. The first thing is that the Department of Justice was supposed to, from literally day one, is enforce 18 U.S.C. 242, which is deprivation of rights under color of law, which is the criminal penalty that federal agents are supposed to suffer if they violate the constitutional rights of American citizens. Like, for example, wrong, use of force policies, like throwing tear gas canisters around like they're squirt guns, or shooting people with pepper balls until they have all these bruises, shooting people in the head with a pepper ball who is just simply sitting there trying to give a religious sermon against what ICE is doing, or the grabbing of people, running their cars, all these things. These are 18 U.S.C. 242 violations. But what happens if the Department of Justice doesn't step up and do those jobs? The answer to that is what comes next. And that is called Bivens, Bivens, Bivens actions. This is where that if the federal government does injure to your civil rights, your constitutional rights, you go and you sue for monetary damages or to correct what happened, or both, right? So the ACLU is now taking the first class action case in Washington, D.C. against ICE for things like grabbing people off the street without having a warrant. This is huge. This is the clearest path to removing Trump from office. It's very simple because they're doing what you should be doing. The individual ICE agent is already toast. And they're going to give the Nuremberg defense. I was just following orders, right? That's what they're going to give you. That's why you do class action cases and you file it against, in your state, against the state director of ICE, who is not telling agents to operate inside of the Constitution, who is not enforcing 18 U.S.C. 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. And so you sue them for the damages that they are causing, the injuries that they are causing, what exactly they are doing. And those damages can be massive, especially if they are at the level where they are at. This is the biggest problem about what's happening in D.C., because what's happening in D.C. can happen everywhere that ICE is performing. Every single state, every single city, everywhere. So yes, you should be studying what the ACLU is doing with CASA in D.C., but what you want to do is take what they're doing over there and bring that to your town. Just like what I'm trying to do right now with my attorney to be able to do class action cases for the breach of everybody's Social Security information, we need to do the same thing with regard to what the ACLU is doing in D.C. and put that in all 50 states, because that's how you get rid of Trump. You think ICE has a budget? It doesn't have the budget to be able to cover the damages that it's inflicting. It just doesn't. You need to go sign people up. We need to find the attorney first that's willing to do the class action case, or at least begin that process. You then have that attorney teach you how to go about signing those people up, and then you go out and you start signing people up. Because once they're a member of the protected class, the federal government can't screw with those people. They just can't. They can't persuade them because it just creates more damage. And what's the budget you're going after? The budget of ICE. And that budget, I'm telling you this right now, doesn't have the kind of money to pay for the damages that it has caused. It just doesn't. So you just need to go out there and do that. And that will lead to Trump's impeachment. Those are the people that you reach out to when you're talking to congressmen and elected officials, that if your local elected officials were illegally harassed by ICE, that if that's a violation of their constitutional rights, then those are Bivens actions that everyone can engage in. So yes, this is how you bring Trump down. You bring it down because you get people engaged in the impeachment debate on the core issue, money. And that's how people economically survive. Because the budget of ICE is huge, but it doesn't equal that of the damages that they're causing. So let's get out there, let's get to work, let's find the attorneys to represent the people, to cover the damages that have been happening, the economic damages, the psychological damages, and obviously the people that have been mistreated. I know this is kind of slow, but it was only up until what point would the failure of the Department of Justice's from doing its job and the FBI from doing its job to enforce deprivation of rights under color of law, which they haven't done. And because they haven't done that, ICE has acted in a way that is a thug and not a cop. That's how you correct this. Because everything that they're, and then you keep recording them, because all that you're doing is recording the damages. And then hopefully ICE will come back to normal. But the problem is that the damages have already been done. And inevitably, we're going to find out just how high up these damages were done, how high up the directives were to violate the constitutional rights of U.S. citizens and people that are here within the United States, people that have visited the United States, and the injuries that that has caused. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get out there, get to work. Don't get angry. Get an attorney.